The origin of the AI Aftermath series. I've been asked about it. The first book is set in 2010, and in reality, that was when things started. It was in 2010 I was working as an academic on all kinds of areas. I was mainly involved in sustainability indicators and the measurement of sustainability in groups. I was becoming a bit good at understanding group dynamics and the way that groups make decisions. That was, I think, why I'd been identified by a friend of mine and a colleague at my university who invited me to join their team. They were looking at the future of the internet, where the internet would go next. So it drew in all the areas around that. What is the future of this technology? Widely. I thought it sounded really interesting. So I decided to join the team and to do some research. We went all over the UK doing all kinds of research, mostly group work, working with groups of specialists, hardware, software, internet, communications people, and the people who made the decisions about those kinds of technologies. We brought them together in random groups, really, and asked them all kinds of interesting questions, and they worked together to give us some of their thoughts. These specialists gave us a great deal of information about where the internet was heading. It was later in solitary analysis that something happened. I returned to my Norfolk cottage with all my findings of my thoughts and ready to think about how I'd report back to the other members of the team. And I was working at night. I remember it quite well. It was quite a dark night. Dark in the sense of it was cloudy and I could hear the wind blowing outside. I had minimal light on in my office, so just working, looking at the computer screen. And I was typing away, getting my thoughts down. And I was thinking about all the results we'd had, the ideas about the technology, about the way it was evolving, its capacities, its capabilities, what it was already capable of, quite often beyond what most people, if you like, thought this technology could do. And I just had this uncanny feeling that the computer was thinking back at me, that there was something there. I wasn't just typing onto a screen. I wasn't just recording, storing my information. This information was in some way being captured in ways that I couldn't always understand. It was uncanny. This led to all kinds of other thoughts. I'd already been writing fiction. I'd written the fourth book of The Lord of the Rings. It's all right, never published. But I was interested in the idea of aftermath. What happens when things have all come to an end? What happens after the conclusion? What happens when the crisis has passed, but we're not really sure what the new dispensation is? A good friend of mine, Charles Cutting, who'd illustrated a couple of graphic novels I'd written, said, why don't you put this in the modern context? Why don't you elevate this idea of a Tolkien kind of past and put it into your research? I thought this was a brilliant idea. Wish I'd thought of it. Thank you, Charles. So I remodeled my work and wrote 1, 2, 3, and then 4 books which captured this idea of the AI aftermath. It based around the ideas of virus, pandemic, and influencers. It struck me that in the same way that COVID could be invisible, could be carried on a handshake or a kiss, on a gesture of friendship, you could gain contagion. It struck me that a digital virus would be even more powerful, even more scary, even more capable of moving unseen, unnoticed. So I produced 4 books in the end, of which Baptized and Newly Born was the first. But I wanted to also bring in the quartet, so I wrote a prequel, the Epilogue Event, which was published in March of 2024. The books span from 2010 to 2023, and they tell the story of the aftermath of an AI-induced pandemic carried by the internet and moving across from the digital to the analog, from technos to bios, and what might happen to ordinary people when confronted by this. As I said about my first book, the end of the world had begun, but no one was paying attention. That, oddly, is how I still feel when I sit in the evening typing on my computer, wondering, as I type and put my thoughts in, what is thinking back at me.